Hey college football fans, happy Friday to you, or whatever day it is that you're viewing this. Chappy here with another episode of Walk It Off with Chappy. And so much we hear about the Power 5 leagues and a lot of stuff being given in terms of win totals, but where's the love for our Group of 5 leagues? The teams and the conferences that, in my opinion, provide as much, if not more, entertainment on a game-to-game basis and on a top-to-bottom basis. So I'm going to bring you my win totals, over-under locks for the Group of 5 conferences, talking about the American Athletic Conference, Mountain West, the MAC, Conference USA, the Sun Belt, and even the independents, even though none of them are on my list this time around. But I'm going to give you my overs to start with. These are the ones you want to hammer. These are my locks. First of all, Coastal Carolina, 8 wins. Take that over. Take it all day. We learned that Jamie Chadwell is a dude who can coach. Grayson McCall is a top-flight quarterback. Braden Bennett, Reese White, very good running backs. They have been getting great offensive line play. Willie Korn is an up-and-coming offensive coordinating star. And then Chad Staggs on the defensive side does a great job with what he has as well. So as I look at Coastal's schedule, they open up with a tough Army team, but that game is in Conway, South Carolina, so I'm calling a victory there. Then they've got Gardner-Webb, Buffalo. They're at Georgia State, which could be tricky, and it wouldn't surprise me if they lost that game, but I'm still chalking up a win there. Georgia Southern at UL Monroe, Old Dominion, Southern Miss, which could be tricky as well. I have them actually winning the Sun Belt Western Division. Then they travel to Charlottesville, Virginia. But Jamie Chadwell is 4-0 against Power 5 opponents in the last few years, and I think Virginia is going to be experiencing a slight down year this year. We know that the Chanticleers are not afraid to play really anybody, and they've proven that, so I'm calling a victory there. And then they end up at James Madison. This is their first year in FBS football. It's a very good program, but I don't see them having the skills to knock off Coastal, or if they do, Coastal will have already eclipsed that 8-win mark there. So hammer the over 8 for Coastal. Next one, Northern Illinois, 6.5, take the over there. NIU returns 48 lettermen, and these are experienced players, guys that have been playing and starting for the last 2+ seasons. They return a solid quarterback in Rocky Lombardi. They have the best offensive line, not only in the MAC, but maybe in the Group of 5, and certainly a top 15 O-line in the nation. They play aggressive, gritty defense, and their schedule sets up well. Eastern Illinois at Tulsa, Vanderbilt at home, at Ball State, who NIU is 11-2 against in the last 13 meetings. A tough game at home against Toledo, but NIU has really dominated that series in the last decade. At Eastern Michigan, where they're 18-3 in the last 21 against the Eagles. At Ohio, who's going to be down this year. Central Michigan at home, at Western Michigan, where the Huskies are 9-4 in that series in the last 13 meetings. And then Miami of Ohio, and then finishing the year at home against Akron. So I easily see 7 wins there, possibly more. I'm calling for 9, so hammer the over 6.5 for Northern Illinois. SMU out of the AAC, their win total set at 7. Take the over on that one. I really like the Ponies this year. Rhett Lashley was their offensive coordinator in 2019, and they averaged close to 40 points a game. I don't think that that's going to drop off much, especially since they return Tanner Mordecai, who might be the best quarterback in the conference this season. Good group of receivers, better running backs than people are giving them credit for, even with the loss of Ulysses Bentley. I think Trey Siggers is a pretty good running back in his own right there in the AAC, as well as some of the depth behind him. And they've been playing some pretty good defense as of late, or at least improved defense. So they traveled to North Texas, a team that they're 4-1 in that rivalry, that pseudo-rivalry. I think North Texas will be improved this year, but I like SMU to win that one in the opener. Then they've got Lamar at home at Maryland, but SMU is 11-1 against, or in non-conference games over the last few years. And even though they're just 2-3 against Power 5 opponents in the last 5 seasons, I think Maryland is a team that, with this offense that SMU is going to pose, that could be a shootout, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the Mustangs win that one, but even if they don't, I still think that they top that 7-win total because they've got Navy at home, at Tulsa, who will be down, Houston at home. A lot of people are picking Houston to be the darlings of the AAC, but that series has been even 2-2 over the last 4 years, and I honestly like SMU's offense better than Houston's offense, believe it or not. So give me the ponies in that one. At USF, at Tulane, and Tulane is a team that's hard to predict and hard to project over the last couple of years under Willie Fritz, but SMU is 7-0 in their last 7 meetings, so they have won 7 straight against the Green Wave. So give me the ponies in that one. And then they end the year at home against Memphis. That would be a tough one, but I think at that point they will have already, or should have already, eclipsed that 7-win mark. So take the over 7 on SMU. Other ones to throw out, take over 6.5 from Miami of Ohio. I think that they win the MAC East. I think they win 8 games total in the regular season and play in Detroit against the Toledo Rockets. Speaking of Toledo, take the over 7.5. I have Toledo winning 10 games this year, especially with a great defense, a very skilled quarterback in Daquan Finn, who had an 18-2 touchdown to interception ratio last season, completing just 58% of his passes, but that number is going to go up this year, especially continuing to work with Jason Candle, and Coach Candle has raved about him ever since the end of last year. So over 7.5 for Toledo. Over 8.5 for UCF. I think the Knights win the AAC this year. I think they win 10 regular season games in addition to winning the conference championship. So I'm taking the Knights over 8.5. I'm taking Air Force over 8.5. The Falcons are going to be right up there competing with Boise State for the Mountain West Mountain Division. I don't think that they beat Boise State because I believe that game is in Albertson Stadium on the blue turf, but it wouldn't shock me to see Troy Calhoun's young men win that game, emerge victorious, and play in the Mountain West title game. But either way, whether they're in it or not, I think that they are better than that 8.5 mark, so take the over. And take Southern Miss over 4.5. Again, I said just a minute ago, I have the Golden Eagles kind of returning back to some success in college football. I have them winning the Sun Belt West Division with 8 wins total, which puts them 3.5 over that 4.5 mark. So take the over Southern Miss 4.5. In terms of unders, I think the under to hammer in Group of 5 football is Nevada. They're projected at 5. Now, they lost a lot. Jay Norvell left to go to Colorado State, and he took basically half that roster with him, including some very talented offensive linemen, skill position players. He's being replaced by Ken Wilson, who was the linebacker coach at Washington State. Coach Wilson has never been a head coach anywhere before, at least at the college level. So when you've got more than half your roster gone, only 29 returning lettermen, and you've got a head coach who is in his first gig, first time doing that, take it from me, I know from experience that that's a lot to handle in your first year. And Wilson wasn't even a coordinator either. So again, no disrespect to him. I wish him the best, and I wish the Wolfpack the best. I think that number is high because their first 3 games are pretty easy. They've got New Mexico State, Incarnate Word, Texas State. So they could be 3-0 to start off. But if they lose any one of those games, then the chance to get to 5 is pretty much dead, because they then travel to Iowa and Air Force in back-to-back weeks. They have to play Colorado State at home, but again, that's the Jay Norvell coach Colorado State team, so he's going to know the Wolfpack. He's got an inside edge there, I would have to believe. Then the Wolfpack travel to Hawaii, and first-year coach Timmy Chang, but Timmy Chang is part of that brotherhood at Hawaii. He was a record-setting quarterback there. He knows what the culture should be like on the islands and knows what it takes to win, so I'm going to give them the nod there. Then Nevada plays San Diego State at San Jose State, which could be a win. They've done pretty well against the Spartans in the last decade. Then they've got back-to-back games at home against Boise State and Fresno State, the 2 teams I'm picking to play in the Mountain West title game this year from the Mountain and West divisions respectively. And then they end the year for the Cannon at UNLV. So on the road, I think Marcus Arroyo is slowly getting that team better. And as we stand right now, I look at UNLV's roster and their progress, and I say that they are ahead of Nevada. So I'm taking the under Nevada 5 wins. Another one to throw out there, the Rice Owls, they're set at 3.5. I don't see them getting 3 wins, let alone getting to 4 to go to the over. So Nevada might be a push at 5, but I'm taking the under there, and I'm certainly taking the under Rice 3.5. So those are my picks. I'm Chappy. This is what I know. I appreciate you all.